On today's video, we'll be working on an AC. Here, we're at the thermostat. Whenever you receive a call, you want to start where the thermostat is. We have it set to cool, auto. This is the ambient temperature inside the unit. And here we're going to lower the temperature down. We're going to let the thermostat turn on. Now, there's two things you want to do when you're checking the temperature. The first thing you want to do is you want to check the temperature coming out of your vents. That will indicate if the AC is working or if your heater is working. Secondly, what we're going to do is we're going to go look at the return. We're going to inspect the filter, and then we're going to inspect the blower motor. So here we're at the return, and I can hear the blower motor running. And here we're going to look at the filter and just make sure that our filter is nice and clean. We're going to inspect our filter. The filter does need to be replaced, but it's not something that I would consider to be detrimental to the system that would cause it not to work. At this point, we're just dealing with the basics. We came to the thermostat, made sure it was on cool and auto. We inspected the blower and the filter. The blower is running. What I try to advise my guys, especially those who are new to the industry and training, is you need to be able to separate the inside of your system from the outside. You always want to check your thermostat and your return. If you're getting the signal from your thermostat to your return, your blower motor turns on, then at this point, what we want to do is we want to go outside to the condensing unit. Now, this is going to be your condensing unit, and you could hear that we do obviously have an issue going on. What we're going to do is we're going to diagnose the system and determine what the problem is. So here we removed our panel, and you can see the problem is going to be our contactor. What's happening is our contactor is starting to fail. So right now I did remove my disconnect, but you can see here with my screwdriver I was playing with the contactor. And what's happening is I still have 24 volts coming from my thermostat. So my thermostat is calling for cool, but you can see here it got stuck in the open position. You can see here I'm going to tap it slowly and you'll see it'll automatically engage. We are at this point going to have to replace the contactor. Now what I am going to do just for the purpose of this video is I'm going to re-engage it, and then we're going to go upstairs and we're going to go ahead and check our temperatures coming out of the vents. Here you can already see the drop in the temperature. You can see here already, this is the thermostat that we're working on. The ambient temperature in the unit has already dropped significantly. The reason I wanted to post this video is because I get a lot of comments on my channel from guys who are very intimidated, especially if they're new to the industry in regards to HVAC. I always try to encourage you, especially if you're someone who's new to the industry and you're trying to learn. You don't have to get intimidated by all the different tools that you see on these different videos. A lot of times the best tool that you're going to have is going to be your brain. Having these tools are extremely helpful and important in regards to properly diagnosing your HVAC or heating system. However, what I recommend for those who are new to the industry is, instead of trying to gather all these different tools, what you want to do is you want to gather enough information in how to diagnose the system just basically by looking at it and assessing it visually. When I am training my guys or I'm giving advice to people who are new to the industry, the first thing I always advise is go to the thermostat. Set your thermostat to cool, set it to auto. What is the ambient temperature in the unit? Lower the ambient temperature on the thermostat. The next step is going to the return. You want to see if your blower motor is running. You want to inspect your filter. Here I remove the panel. I'm going to engage my switch. And my blower motor is running. Once I confirm that my thermostat and my return are operational, The next step is going to check my condensing unit. Once you're at your condensing unit, it'll be easier for you to diagnose the condenser itself rather than having all the different components in your mind while you're diagnosing the system. What I would do at this point, if I came outside and my blower motor was running, I would want to see if my compressor is functioning. And the way I would do that is I would connect my gauges and read my pressures. Once I inspect my compressor, if I put my gauges and I do see that I do have pressures on my gauges, the next thing I'm going to suspect is going to be the capacitor. If I come outside my condensing unit and I hear my compressor but my fan motor is not running, at this point I would suspect either the capacitor is bad or the fan motor is seized up. If I come outside and for some reason both my fan motor and my compressor are not running, what I would do next is I would obviously check here and look at the voltage coming off of my contactor. You would want to make sure that you're getting 240 volts here feeding to your contactor that allows the 240 volts to feed to your compressor once the contactor engages. If you come outside and your condenser is not running, your fan motor, your compressor is not operating, what you would do is you would go and check your low voltage to your contactor. If you don't have low voltage feeding to your contactor is not going to have the signal coming from your thermostat telling it when to turn on and off. So here I've removed my 24 volts going to my contactor. This would be the signal coming from my thermostat, and you can see my contactor is no longer engaged. I apply voltage, the contactor will engage. You can see this is the problem that we were having earlier. I keep applying 24 volts, but the contactor's stuck. These are just, like I said, different visual things that you can do. We haven't really brought out any tools yet. We just had a screwdriver, a multi-screwdriver helping us troubleshoot. And I'm doing this video because I want you guys, especially if you're new to the industry, don't be intimidated. You can work on a lot of things in regards to the HVAC without actually having to pull out your multimeter or your gauges at this point. Obviously, if for some reason you're working on the AC, your compressor and your fan motor running but you're not cooling, this would indicate that you have low refrigerant or you have a leak. And again, I do have videos posted on my channel kind of showing you the step-by-step process. Again, this isn't an in-depth video. This is kind of, if you're new to the industry, just a kind of basic troubleshooting video. At this point, if I'm unable to determine the problem just by visually inspecting the system, what I would do is I would then get my multimeter. I would want to check obviously my capacitor with the MFD setting on the multimeter. I would go ahead and check the voltage at the contactor coming in, engage the contactor, see if I have voltage going back out to the compressor. I would want to check my low voltage. For some reason I'm losing voltage here at the contactor. I would want to get voltage here at the disconnect. I would obviously want to check the breaker, make sure the breaker hasn't tripped. You also want to keep in mind when you're diagnosing the system that you want to see if the compressor is overheated. If it did overheat, if the fan overheats, they both have thermal overload protectors, so you want to make sure that you do allow it to cool down. Now I know at this point there's going to be some guys who are experienced, quote unquote, and they're going to have their comments in regards to this video. This video is not for you. This video is for people who are new to the industry, who are trying to understand the system, new to the industry. Be very safe when you're working with the condensing unit. Always make sure that you remove power, able to separate the thermostat with the return air with the condensing unit, then you'll have a better chance of diagnosing your system. If this video was beneficial, if it was informational, and subscribe.